homework that went with the lesson before. So can you come up with the equation that goes with that hyperbola? So find the center. There it is. What is that center? So that center is at 5, or is at -2 and 5. So count 2 left and 5 up. A, what's the distance there? That's 2. Or is that 3? 1, 2, 3. B, what's the distance to the right that makes the rectangle? That's 6. And then write the equation down. So this is a vertical. So we're going to start with the y. So it's y subtract 5 squared. The a is 9 subtract, or a squared is 9. X plus 2, square it, that's 36, is equal to 1. The center is at 5, -2. What? Is -2, 5. See how I flippity flipped? Easily done. -2 and 5. Perfect. Think. Vertices. What did I do? I added and subtracted 3 to the y coordinate. So that's -2 and 8. That's -2 and subtract 3. That's -2 and 2. For the co-vertices, it's the x coordinate and the center. So add 6. That's 4. Subtract 6. That's -8. The foci, I need to add these up. That's the square root of 45. So for the foci, that affected the y coordinate. So the center, -2 and 5 plus or minus the square root of 45. Done. Number 2, find the center. There it is. So the center is at 0 and -3. The distance to the right, that's 7. So we have x squared over 7 squared minus y plus 3. What's the distance going up? 2. Square it. And that's equal to 1. So to find the vertices, I'm adding and subtracting. You add the denominators. It's the square root of 53. Anyways, you add and subtract 7 to the x coordinate. So that's positive and -7 and -3. Just a quicker way to write it. The co-vertices, I have to write it in a longer way. It's 2 to the y coordinate. So 0, add 2. 0, subtract 2. And the foci affects the x coordinate. So that would be positive and negative from 0, root 53, and -3. Number 3, find the center. There it is. And the center is at -1 and +2. This is horizontal. So we start with x plus 1 squared, subtract y minus 2 squared, equal to 1. What's my a and b? So my a, the distance to the left, that's 4. B, my distance from the center and count up, that's 5. So that's 16 and 25. The vertices, start with the x coordinate. So -1, we're going to add 4, that's 3. And we're going to subtract 4, that's -5. The minor vertices, it's 5 to the y coordinate. So -1, add 5, -1, subtract 5. The foci, you add the denominators. It's the square root of 41. So that affects the x coordinate from the center. So -1 plus or minus root 41 and 2. Done. On to number 4. From the graph, where's the center? There it is. The center, count from the origin. How many left? How many down? Negative, negative. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So the center is at -4. Those are 3. 1, 2, 3. -3. And how many down? 1, 2, 3, 4. So at -3, -4 is the center. This is a vertical. So that means the y is going to start first. The A, the distance from the middle to the top is 2. So square it, that's 4. From the middle right is 1. And square it, it would stay 1. And that would mean C is the square root, and you add them. 4 plus 1 is 5. So the vertices, we're going to use the A and the Y coordinate. So that's negative 3 plus 2. And that's negative 3. And then you subtract 2. That's negative 6. The co-vertices, or the minor vertices, is using 1 and the x coordinate. So add 1, that's negative 2 and negative 4. Subtract 1, that's negative 4 and negative 4. And then the foci affects the y coordinate of the center. So that's negative 3, negative 4, plus or minus the square root of 5. Done. How about if you didn't have a graph? Could you come up with the equation? So for number 5, you're given the vertices and co-vertices. So I can find the center, 8 and 8, that average is 8. 9 and negative 1 is 8, but divide by 2, so the center is 8, 4. I recognize the y's change, so we're going to start with the y. So that means it's going to be y minus 4 squared, and it's going to be x minus 8 squared equal to 1. I know that much. The distance from the y coordinate to the y coordinate is 5. That's 25. When I look at the co-vertices, the distance from the x to the x, well, that's 12. And if you square it, that's 44, 144. So your A was 5 in this case, and your B in this case was 12. Number 6, the vertices and the co-vertices. So we have the center, average them. That's negative 6 divided by 2. Then negative 5 stays the same. Or A is the distance from negative 3 to 10. That's 13. Then the distance for the co-vertices from negative 5 to 2, that distance is 7. 7. Now let's put it all together. So when we put it all together, because the main vertices, it's the x that changed, and we'll start with the x's. That's x plus 3 squared, and then 13 squared is 169. Then we have y plus 5 squared, and then 7 squared is 49, and that's equal to 1. All right, turn the page. We have a few more left to do. Number 7, the vertices. So we have main vertices at 8, negative 2, and negative 8, negative 2. So the center then, we add them. 8 and negative 8 is 0, divided by 2 is 0, and negative 2 would stay the same. The x's are what changed, so that distance is 8. The length of the conjugate axes is 30. That's the minor axes. So half of 30 is 15. So when I put this together, recognize the x's change. So the x comes first. And then 8 squared is 64. Subtract. Then it's the y. Plus 2 square 15. That's 225. And that's equal to 1. For number 8, the co-vertices, the center, we have negative 7 and negative 3. Add them and divide by 2. And then negative 5 stays the same. A, or B, I should say, goes from negative 5 to negative 7. That's 2. The length of the transverse axes, that's the major one, is 12. Divide that by 2 and you get 6. Recognize the co-vertices are the x's. So it's the y's that are going to start first. So it's y plus 5 squared. And then 6 squared is 36. It's x plus 5 squared, and then 2 squared is 4, and that's equal to 1. Number 9, you're given the main vertices. So when you're given the main vertices, the center, negative 3 didn't change. 2 and negative 16 is negative 14, and divide by 2 is negative 7. A, from the main vertices, goes from negative 7 to 2. That's 9. The foci then will be found where I need to know what the C is. So in this case, the distance from negative 7 to 8 is 15. That's going to help me. So 15 squared is equal to A squared plus B squared to find B. Subtract 81. and you get 144. Now I have everything I need. So the main vertices, the y changed. The y needs to start first. So it's y plus 7 squared. And a, that's 81, subtract. Now the x plus 3 squared. And now the b squared, which is 144, and that's equal to 1. Number 10, the co-vertices. So for the co-vertices, the center, 2 stayed the same. 14 and negative 6 is 8. Divided by 2 is 4. That's going to give me b for co-vertices. So 4 to 14 is 10. C, if I look carefully, is 2 root 74. Then, when I write down the formula, c squared, that's 4 times 74, that's 296. A squared I don't know, b squared is 100. Subtract 100 and you get 196. And now put it together. The co-vertices, the y change. So the main vertices, the x's have to come first. So x subtract 2 squared over 196. Subtract y minus 4 squared, and that's over b squared, which is 100, and that's equal to 1. All right, 2 left. The main vertices. Well, the center of the main vertices, 14 and negative 2 is 12. And 12 divided by 2 is 6. And negative 6 doesn't change. A then, the distance from 6 to 14 is 8. B, I don't know, but I know the slope. So the slope here is 3 over 2. If I look carefully, the main vertices, it's a horizontal, which means this goes with the run. So if the run is 8, that means I multiplied times 4. So 3 times 4, so it's the same ratio. That means that the numerator must be 12. So b is equal to 12 from the slope. Now we have what we need. Know that it's a horizontal one. So we start with x. X subtract 6 squared, and a squared is 64. Subtract y plus 6 squared. The b squared is 144, and that's equal to 1. All right, last one for your homework. Your co-vertices, negative 3 and 19. That's 16 divided by 2. Negative 2 stays the same. A is the, or B I should say, is the distance from 2 to negative 3, which is 5. The slope is 1 over 11. So when I look at that, did I do the distance right? 2 and negative 2. What did I do? Negative 3 and 19 is 16. Divided by 2 is 8. I'm sorry. So from 8 to negative 3 is 11. So if the slope is 1 over 11, that means A must equal 1 for it to match the slope. And now we write it down. So the co-vertices, the x change. So we need to start with y. So it's going to be y plus 2 squared, and that's over 1. Subtract x minus 8 squared. That's going to be over 11 squared, which is 121, and that's equal to 1. Mr. G Math over and out. You did your work. I'm proud of you. Until next time.